So the other day, I was on the Wikipedia page for the iPhone sales, and pretty much it wasn't just iPhone sales; it was Android sales as well. And what was very interesting was that these two iPhones were some of the iPhones that didn't sell extremely well. Now, these iPhones did sell millions and millions of devices, but if we look at this little mobile sales page, right, from Wikipedia, we can see the number one iPhone, at least from when Apple was reporting iPhone sales. They haven't done it, I think, in the last 2, 3 years. Was the iPhone 6. Now, I do think the iPhone 12 probably sold a little bit more than that. But when we look at the bottom, right, we have the 7 and 7 Plus that sold how many million? Like 159.9 million. Lots of iPhones sold here, the iPhone 5. But at the bottom, there were actually two iPhones that really surprised me for the most part. And these two were actually the iPhone SE 2 that sold 24.2 million. It's a newer iPhone, so it's expected not to sell the most amount. And honestly, it wasn't a bad iPhone. I'll get to that in a second. And then we have the iPhone 10, which was really surprising. So we have the iPhone 3, iPhone 4, but right here, the one that's still supported is the iPhone 10, selling $63 million. Now, this is the thing I'll start off with. With the iPhone 10, I personally do think this is a very, very solid iPhone. But the reason, in my opinion, why Apple didn't sell too many of these things, at least compared to other iPhones, is mostly because of the price. I mean, with the iPhone 6, the reason why that sold so well was number one, it brought a pretty big body change, but also it was a somewhat cheaper iPhone than something like the iPhone 10. This was a $1,000 phone. So the fact that Apple could even sell 63 million or however many million of these devices is actually pretty insane because that is a ton of money that they could make from this device. Now this body is still beautiful, the display on this thing still looks very good, and overall this is still a very fast and powerful phone. Would it be the first phone I would recommend buying right now? I mean, I would probably recommend going for an iPhone 11 Pro or something along those lines, but this is still a very beautiful iPhone with a ton of capability, and I'm a humongous fan of this device still. Like 100%, this is still a beautiful device. But another funny thing is the iPhone SE 2. Now, I've been a humongous supporter of the original iPhone SE. The third iPhone SE, which is the one that's being sold now, I'm not really that big of a fan of at all. But this iPhone, honestly, I wouldn't consider it the best iPhone you've never owned, but I would consider it a good iPhone for the price at the very first like 2 weeks that this thing was out. After that, it really wasn't worth it anymore. I mean, it kind of made a little bit more sense to me that this iPhone wasn't really worth that price. This thing, pretty outdated body. I mean, 4.7-inch display. It did come out in 2020, which is very kind of old for this type of device and the design of it. But then I look at what Apple did with the SE3, and they basically changed nothing and they increased the price. So this thing, even though it wouldn't be the first phone I would recommend, it's still very interesting that this thing didn't really sell too many devices compared to even like an iPhone 10. I think the iPhone 4 sold more than this thing, and this thing was the cheaper iPhone you could purchase of that year. So it's definitely interesting to see. Like I mentioned, I wouldn't recommend buying this phone anymore, but it was pretty crazy that this iPhone only sold 24 million. I mean, it's still a lot of devices to sell, but I'm more surprised the iPhone 10 sold 60. I feel like this device could have sold like 200, to be honest. So that kind of covers it. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.